All right, today we're going to talk about something so fundamental, so baked into our lives that we barely even think about it. Money. But look, this isn't just going to be a story about coins and paper. No, this is a journey from ancient barter all the way to modern bytes. And you'll see it's all built on one single, incredibly powerful idea: trust.
So let's picture it. It all starts right here, maybe around a campfire. There's no cash, no credit cards. It's just a direct trade. You've got cured meat, I've got some polished shells. We make a deal. That's barter, right? It's a system built on what you need, right now, and direct personal negotiation. Seems simple enough, but as we're about to find out, it was deeply, deeply flawed.
You know, in a really small tribe, this kind of works. You know the hunter, you know he needs the pots you make. Easy enough. But what happens when your community starts to grow? What happens when it becomes a town? Well, all of a sudden, your needs and your neighbor's needs, they just don't line up so perfectly anymore. And that simple act of trading, it starts to become a real headache, a complex problem.
So the core issue here has this fancy name economists came up with: the double coincidence of wants. Yeah, it's a mouthful, I know, but the idea is actually super simple. For a trade to work, you have to have exactly what I want, and I have to have exactly what you want, right at the very same time. Now think about that. What are the odds of that happening over and over again? Yeah, pretty much zero. And this wasn't just some abstract economic problem. No, this inefficiency had a real human cost. I mean, sure, barter felt intimate and direct, but it was constantly plagued by those mismatched wants. You'd have goods literally spoiling while you're waiting for the right person to trade with. And imagine making a long journey, putting in all that work, only for a deal to fall through. Trust, the very fabric of the community, it just starts to fray. The whole system was just full of friction.
But, you know, humans are pretty inventive when we need to be. To get around all that friction, we came up with our very first great financial innovation. And that brings us to this. Well, it was an imperfect solution for sure, but it was also kind of brilliant. This is the rise of what we call commodity money.
So here's the idea. To solve the problem, people started using things that pretty much everyone found useful. These became our first real forms of money. Things like salt, right? Essential for preserving food. Or livestock, which could, reproduce. Durable shells, storable grain. These things had their own built-in value, and they could act as a kind of bridge between two people whose needs didn't perfectly match up.
Okay, so this solved one major problem, but of course, it created a whole new one. How in the world do you make sure the value is consistent? I mean, is your cow worth the same as my cow? How many shells is a bushel of wheat worth today versus tomorrow? The system was definitely better, yeah, but it was still missing that crucial piece: standardization.
And it was this exact problem, this need for a standard, reliable way to measure value, that sparked the next huge innovation. And this one was a game changer: the invention of the coin. Think about it. This was a truly revolutionary idea. It created a form of trust that you could literally hold in the palm of your hand.
Now, this didn't happen overnight. The move to coins was pretty gradual. At first, people were just trading raw chunks of metal, gold, silver. Then, to get a bit more precise, they started weighing out specific amounts. But the real breakthrough, the moment everything changed, was that third step: stamping that piece of metal with an official mark.
And this right here, this is the critical insight. The king or the state or whoever was stamping that coin, they weren't magically creating value out of thin air. No, what they were doing was guaranteeing it. They were guaranteeing its weight and its purity. The real power came from social agreement. Everyone just collectively decided to trust that stamp. And that shared trust, that's what finally made trade almost frictionless.
So, once society got comfortable with a symbol of value, that little stamp on a coin, the next big leap became possible. We realized we didn't always need the physical thing itself. We just needed a reliable record of it. And this is the pivot point. This is where we move from coins to credit, the moment a simple promise can become a payment.
And honestly, we've just been abstracting value ever since. Think about it. Go back to 3000 BCE in Mesopotamia, and you find clay ledgers tracking debts. Fast forward thousands of years, you get paper promissory notes. Then, boom, credit cards in the 1950s. And now, instant digital transfers. Every single step moves value further away from a tangible thing and closer to just being a trusted entry in a ledger.
And that really brings us to what you could call the unbreakable rule of any economy, whether it's ancient or modern. When people trust the system, the ledger, the record keeping, trade explodes, wealth grows. But the second that ledger becomes suspect, the whole system just freezes up. Trade contracts, trust is literally everything.
So, okay, what does this whole history lesson, bronze coins, clay tablets, what does any of that have to do with our world today? Well, as it turns out, everything. We are still trying to solve the exact same problems, just with much newer technology. It's the same journey, just now it's from bronze to bytes.
And this brings us right up to today. Just look at the parallels. They're amazing. Ancient coins? They used a king or a state as the central authority and a physical stamp for verification. Now look at modern cryptocurrencies. They're trying to do the exact same thing, but instead of a king, they use distributed code as the authority. And instead of a physical stamp, they use cryptographic proof for verification. The tools have changed, sure, we've gone from metal to data, but the core challenge, creating a trusted system for exchange, that remains exactly the same.
And hey, on that note, just a really quick but important reminder here. This whole thing's for educational purposes, okay? It is not financial advice. It doesn't matter if you're dealing with ancient assets or modern ones. You should always do your own research and make sure you understand the risks.
Okay, so let's pull this all together. After this incredible journey through literally thousands of years of innovation, what are the big lessons? What can we apply today? Well, it all comes back to the one true currency that underpins everything: trust.
Yeah, this entire history really boils down to 3 timeless pillars of value. Number 1, acceptance. It's everything. A currency is only valuable if people are actually willing to use it. That network is key. Number 2, standardization. You need clear, consistent rules. That's what makes trade smooth and efficient. And finally, the most important one, trust is the infrastructure, the system that guarantees the rules. That system is the market. So when you really get down to it, money isn't a physical thing at all. It's a shared belief. It's a powerful idea. You could say that value is a kind of social contract that we all agree to, and the currency we use to sign that contract is trust. You know, every single time you tap your card or make a transfer, you're taking part in this ancient, ongoing human project. The tools have definitely changed, right? We've gone from shells to bronze to bytes. But the foundation, that hasn't changed a bit. And that leaves us with one last big question to think about. If value really is a social contract, what will the next contract look like?